The Maroon White Pod brought to you by CityLink. For bookings, timetables, updates and any other information, head to citylink.ie.
Welcome back to the Maroon and White Pod with myself, Aoife Lynskey.
And myself, Martina Harkin. I hope you're all well. And it's been a while.
It has been a while,
week and a half, yeah.
I missed you there.
You did. I can't believe you actually did it and went ahead without me. Don't
ask me how
you're a left-handed woman.
Turned on the computer.
Unfortunately, I suppose Roisin last week was under a tight schedule. She had to do it during school, and unfortunately I was caught up. But fair play to Aoife, she held the can.
I drove the ship,
and you drove the ship.
And thanks to thanks to Roisin for coming on, and they actually had a great win at the weekend.
They did indeed.
Lucky enough, but a win is a win. And
Dublin gave them a fair run of it.
Probably just shows that there's the lack of matches.
Lack of matches, yeah, exactly. Considering that, I suppose the Munster Championship and the Leinster Championship, they've all had competitive games, and I suppose Connacht are the only teams that have been 6 weeks since the league final, like in April. Yeah,
no, I'm sure they've had challenges and stuff, but it's still not the same
games.
Thing,
Yeah, absolutely, in-house games. But then the announcements there that there was a few with injury, and big announcement there at the weekend that Siobhan McGrath had actually pulled away from the panel.
Yeah, she left the panel, but I'd say, she's a lot of mileage on the legs for a young girl, and you know what, you have to live your life a little bit too, and maybe sometimes when you're that little bit hungrier, she probably felt that she needed a break and she needed a rest, but she'll be a huge loss.
Oh, absolutely, and I suppose looking for, as you said, a young girl still, she was probably drafted into the county scene 15, 16 years of age, and a lot of mileage under her belt, so maybe a break is as good as a holiday.
Exactly.
But with the likes of Niamh Mallon doing what she did for Galway
three minds,
and she scored massively. She took over the free taking duties because of Kerry Dolan's injury, and that was fantastic as well. So you could thank Niamh Mallon that Galway got over the line.
Oh, that's for sure. But it just shows as well that there's a lot of work being done in Dublin, and the gap is narrowing slightly.
It is, we think. But Galway are probably just that little bit classier and a little bit more experience on to pull through. But look at
a win is a win.
Yeah, a win is a win. They have to go to Wexford now next weekend. I don't know if they have any venue, and then a little break, and then it's down Clare and Cork. So we look forward to them. And our under-16s, unfortunately, hadn't the rub of the green in Loughrea there or Ballinasloe, my apologies, 2 weeks ago. But look, it's down to 2 crunch games now, and we'll see how it goes. Training's going good.
But they're flying at a training. It's just
they're good girls.
It just seems the last 5-6 minutes of our games, they seem to. Is it just a little lack of belief or something?
The line, a little bit of confidence, and I suppose a few handling errors. But look, we're working on that in training, and please God,
please God, that's.
But anyhow, we're delighted
tonight. Absolutely delighted. The first man in its 120-year history, Camogie history, president of the Camogie, Brian Molloy. Absolutely delighted to have him.
Galway man,
down the road. But I have to ask him now, because there's a lot of discrepancy of where he was born, because he was born early, and it was written down as kind of Lanesborough, but it wasn't really Lanesborough. And born in Dublin, lived in Dublin for 20 years, then moved down to Ballinderreen in 2006. Met his wife Vivian, and they've 2 kids, Ciara and Aisling, and lived in Ballinderreen there, and was very involved with Camogie down to the years. So it's no wonder that he went up the ranks. But I'm trying to find out kind of what made him kind of go for the president's job, and it's great to get insight tonight on why he did and what his plans are.
And I suppose when it comes to the game itself and how the game has evolved, I suppose you're looking from the top down. And hopefully, no doubt, in 3 years' time, if his position is up, what's his legacy? What will he have left for us?
But, he has plenty experience in it. Like, I've written down some bits here. He was Connacht chairperson, Connacht Provincial Council PRO, Galway County Council PRO, and chairperson of Ballinderreen as well. It's no wonder that
it's nothing new to him as such. It's just that it's a big step up. And
I'm trying to find out. So his business. He's worked in business for 30 years, so I'm sure
he's a cute head on his shoulders.
Can't wait to hear all the gossip. So we're absolutely delighted to welcome the president of Camogie, Brian Molloy. How are you getting on, Brian?
I'm good. I'm good. I was. I have to give you a shorter intro for me because that's.
Well, I don't think you could narrow that down, Brian. But she's left out loads, so
I have loads here. I'll say it after you're gone.
Look at before Aoife starts us off, Brian. Number one, just want to congratulate you on your position. I think it's fantastic. It is something that is new to the association, but sure, a change is as good as a holiday. And I suppose the burning question myself and Aoife want to ask you is, why now? Was it a random decision, Brian, or have you thought about this for a while?
Yeah, it was fairly random. So, like, I think, like a huge number of our volunteers, you get involved because of circumstances around you. So I moved to Ballinderry work-wise in 2006. I had no direct connection to Ballinderry. I was living up in, well, actually in Kildare, bizarrely, but anyway, it's a convoluted story as to where I've lived over the years. But I've been working in Dublin for the previous 20 years, got an opportunity to move over to the west, got a job with HC Financial in Oranmore, and was looking around for a place to live. My mum was living in Cregana, just outside Oranmore, and she knew the principal in Ballinderry and said, sure, there's a nice spot out there, have a look and see what you think. And it was 2006, so if you throw your minds back to that, house prices were racing and trying to find a place and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And found a house which literally edged onto the hurling pitches in Ballinderry. So when I would be describing to delivery people how to get to my house, it would be go past the pitch, and you'll come to a second pitch, and then you'll come to my house.
Yeah, literally.
So there's been a few schlitters in your backyard and down through the years.
Over the years, that some of which I gave back and some of which we kept, of course. But, my wife even put a few little steps into the wall so the kids could climb over the wall and be straight into the pitch to play a bit of camogie when they were very small. And the girls got involved, and I went down. Actually, when Ciara, the eldest one, was in primary school, and she was in the same class now as the likes of Fiona Ryan and Lisa Killorn and those girls. So serious, Myrne Faherty, 2 under-16 All-Irelands. So she came up to the house and said she wanted to play camogie, and Viv looked at me and I looked at Viv and went, this Barbie-loving child is not really going to play camogie now. And I went down and I met Lorraine Larkin, and I said, I'm not sure she's going to play, but she wants to join because her buddies are joining. Is that okay? And Lorraine said, absolutely. And I tell you what, I have one of Leanne's old helmets out in the car, so rather than buying a helmet, I'll give you a lend of Leanne's helmet, and if it works, buy a helmet, and if not, sure, give back the helmet. And it did work. Ciara was playing for UL this year on their personal team, so she's kept playing the whole way through. And
fantastic.
I had no real involvement, to be honest with you. I was busy with work and doing stuff, and an AGM came up. Lan, famous man too, was the chair at the time, and I went down to the Barker Jordan's pub in Ballinderry for an AGM back in the days when we didn't have the community centre done up as lovely as it is now, and was being asked by 2 individuals, Siobhan Kelleher and Della Killorn, would I consider going in as assistant treasurer. And as I was explaining to them that it wasn't going to be possible because I had just taken on a 2-year MBA and was just starting it, and overheard over my shoulder, Lorraine Larkin and Mary Halibert had decided we won't bother asking him, we'll just put him forward. And I was, before I knew it, I was vice chair of the club, working with Noel. And he stayed on as chair for another couple of years, and then I stepped into his shoes after a couple of years. So that's where I kind of fell into it. Was very much on the administrative side in the club then, as chair, trying to put a bit of a shape on it. We had just come up from Junior B to Junior A. We had a couple of Junior A finals that we lost to Crockwell at the time. We lost one of them, I think, by a point or by 2 points. So we're on the edge at that stage of pushing on. And I took on as chair, and I was very much focused on that, to be honest with you. And then when we were doing a coaching setup, I think for my second year, Lorraine didn't have anybody working with her. Jerry was involved at that stage with the hurler, so I said, sure, look, I'll give you a hand and put out some cones for you and help you out. And a couple of years after that, sure, I was coaching and managing and doing coaching courses and management courses and all sorts of stuff. Did a referees course, ended up doing a small bit of underage refereeing, ran the line, did the umpiring, got asked at a county board meeting. Darren was stepping down as the PRO for Galway. I was delegate going in at that stage. Got asked in the edges, would I consider going forward, because nobody had gone forward. I said, sure, why wouldn't I? Vivian is used to the fact that if I go to meetings, I come back with a job. And,
well, if you go to a meeting, you're bound to get a job. That's
the way it seems to work. You're no stranger to that yourself, Aoife, in fairness. And then Geraldine McGrath at that stage was in charge in Galway, and then she went on to Connacht and asked me would I come across to be PRO for Connacht. And then I took over from her as chair of Connacht, and I had no intention of doing anything other than seeing out my 3 years as Connacht chair. But as you know, as Connacht chair, as a provincial chair, you're automatically a vice president, and that puts you on Ord Corla. And Hilda, actually, my predecessor, asked me one evening would I consider going forward, and I said absolutely not, far too busy. And then I was approached by a couple of the other provincial chairs at different times, asking me that they had been talking amongst themselves in Ord Corla, and they felt I was a strong person to go forward. So agonized over it a bit, to be honest, because it wasn't a big plan. It was never a big structured plan. This is what I'm going to do. It was just different circumstances at different times. But thought about it over the Christmas, not the one just gone, obviously the previous one, when I was coming into putting forward for the tough opposition, the president-elect. And in the end, kind of said, look, I knew it was going to be hard with work and everything, but I wasn't going to get a second chance to be the Uachtaráin of the Camogie Association. It's a huge honour. So I said I'd let my name go forward and see how it went. Now I did do a fair bit of work then in terms of nominations and getting my name around the place, and I had garnered nominations pretty much from all four corners of the country, and that ended up in the situation whereby there was one or two who were thinking about going, and then they kind of said, well, you have the votes already, so they didn't put themselves forward, so I ended up being unopposed. So it was a positive thing.
And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history, as they say, exactly.
And listen to me, in short, in about 1 minute, could you tell us of your typical day as president of the Camogie Association? Well, is it a full 9 to 5, or is it?
No, I'm the same as pretty much the vast majority of people who are involved in Camogie and GAA. I'm a volunteer, so I work a 9 to 5 job, and then I do my Camogie from 5 to 10, 11, half 11, 12, and on weekends. So it is that experience of all those people who are working hard in Camogie clubs and county boards around the place who do a day job first, and then do their Camogie. Now I use all my leave basically for Camogie related stuff that has to be done during the day. So, if I have to go to an Oireachtas committee meeting, I can't tell them to have it at 8 o'clock at night. I have to, rock up to the doll. I can't tell them sorry anymore.
So a match to go to.
Yeah, exactly. If I have meetings at the GAA and that, so we'd be different to that. Hilda would have been full-time working as well. Catherine Neary beforehand. All the previous presidents, to the best of my knowledge, would have been working. The GAA model is slightly different. They Jarlath is retired from teaching, and his predecessor wasn't working full-time as well. But so a lot of it is done the evening time. Then you have stuff going on during the day. Then you have stuff going on the weekend. So it's busy. It's kind of full on. So the big loser is really the family side of things. I don't get to see much and won't get to see much of the family for the next 3 years. But we knew that when I came into it, and insofar as possible, Viv comes to games and comes to events and comes is involved from that point of view. But at the end of the day, there's only so many hours in the day and so many days in the week. So there's only so much time for doing things. There's a good team around me though. There's a good staff. Sinead McNulty is the chief executive, so they're all full-time staff. It's about 20 staff in total. So it's a tight team that are working full-time, and then obviously you get all the support from all the volunteers up and down the country every evening and every weekend.
Yeah, do you have any say now, Brian, in the, obviously it's a volunteer's position, it's no more than myself and Martina being involved in the schools. It's kind of a thankless job at times, but have you any input into the sponsorship, we'll say, towards the promotion of Camogie? Would you have anything? I know that the very Camogie League is in already, obviously, and the Glen Dimplex, but have you any say in, the sponsorship side of it that would help in the promotion?
Not a huge amount. So the sponsorship deals, we did a deal with Peter McKenna's team in the GAA a couple of years ago, It's not that long ago, you'll recall, that we had no sponsor for our championship for a little while, and then brilliantly Glendimplex, and we're hugely appreciative of all involved in Glendimplex and the Noctons for coming in when they did. We had sat down with Peter McKenna, and he has a very slick team on the commercial side in the GAA in terms of attracting sponsorship and constructing the packages around bringing in sponsors. So he does that for us. Now we pay them for it. There's a finder's fee kind of model that's used with regard to it. So, but it works well for us. We've attracted in super sponsors, and we're really appreciative of them. But that's how that whole sponsorship piece goes, and then they're on fixed term kind of periods, and then there's engagement with them to roll them over and extend them beyond that.
And then, like, on top of that, then, Brian, with I'm sure you've seen the ads, the Lidl ads and all that. Like, the ladies Gaelic football have a real kind of good model, for stopping the drop and all that. And
it's very attractive.
It is.
It gathers a momentum and it gets attention from the media.
And I suppose if there was integration, it's not particularly saying stop the drop from just like ladies Gaelic football. It stopped the drop from sport in general. But you spoke about the integration thing. Can you tell us a little bit about that, or how do you think it's going to fare out? Do you think obviously it's going to be a good thing, but will it happen?
Yeah. I think it'll be a very good thing. Like the Allianz Stop the Drop ads, we were lucky to an extent in the one that they ran with the girl with the hurl drop of the hurl.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
So it was about all sports, but there was a nice camogie angle to it, and we benefited from that. Integration is going to be hugely positive. We're going to end up with a completely new GAA. It will be hugely positive for the GAA. It'll be hugely positive for ladies football, and it'll be hugely positive for camogie. The vast bulk. There's always a couple of naysayers, but the vast bulk of people, and we've measured it. There was a very detailed survey done last year, and over 90% of each of the three associations, so as well as an overall 90+%, over 90% of each association were in favour of integration. So there's no question about it. It's definitely happening, and it's definitely happening over the next couple of years. So I think there's lots of benefits to having one overall Gaelic Games Association, one integrated Gaelic Games Association, where everything is focused on the games, and the girls and boys get equal access, equal opportunity, and an equal chance to shine on the pitch, which is what we want everybody to get. And we have things to do. We have changes to make. There's a big, certainly the focus when it was being announced, when it was being worked on, it was on these famous 3 Fs, the finance, facilities and fixtures, and there's certainly work that needs to be done in terms of all 3. But the point I made in my acceptance speech back in Congress, and I've spoken to it on a couple of occasions, and on RTE interviews, and in the recent interview with the Independent, and in meetings directly with Jarlath on the GAA side. My point is that integration doesn't of itself create or remove any individual fixture or any individual facility. The challenges that we face as 3 organisations are challenges that we face pre-integration, and will face and be better positioned to face them together collectively post-integration. So far from them being barriers to integration, the actual better way to resolve them and tackle them is by integrating and tackling them together.
Exactly.
Even in terms of attracting funding and government support and external support, there's a huge emphasis on female sport for a reason, and there's a huge focus now where people don't want to be involved in sponsoring a sport which is one gender only. So they want to be involved where there's both sides of it. So I think it'll be beneficial. There'll be challenges. There's no question about it. There's going to be challenges, but we will get there.
You said Mike Kennedy always had a great saying. What was it when you were winning all your All-Irelands? About team
together,
everyone.
Well, team, we should always use the TEAM, like together everyone achieves more, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there, because it's not just the GAA on its own, it's the camogie, it's the ladies football, and when everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet,
more resources as well, like, or more like
that's
ideas.
When the magic happens. Exactly. And you hit on it there with finance, facilities, and in particular fixtures. because we see it in schools, Brian, when you have a fixtures and the master plan comes from Croke Park and you're looking at it, and then all of a sudden there's minor camogie clashes with school clashes, and then they have football matches, and you're talking about player welfare. You could have girls playing a Connacht final on a Monday and have to go out and play a Connacht schools camogie final on a Tuesday, and it's coming from that master plan. Whereas you said if there was a little bit more where everyone is involved in that finance, in that organising facility, in organising fixtures,
big time.
well, then life would be a lot easier for everyone. And that's what you want. And look, it's great to hear that that's on the cards, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will come to fruition in the next 3 years. So that's something we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. But will it just be, do you think, Brian, will it just be the counties, will it filter down to the clubs, like, or is it just going to be kind of county teams, like?
One step at a time, start with the county.
I suppose, like, the way I would look at it is that there's a top-down and a bottom-up element of this, and we have to have both of them working. The fundamental core unit of the three associations is the club. It's not the Ard Comhairle, it's the club.
It's the foundation.
So absolutely, there needs to be enabling from the top down. The top of the organisations have to buy into it and have to ensure that they're enabling all at levels of the associations to integrate. But ultimately, what we need to see, and we're starting to see it, but we need to see an awful lot more of it, is that the fundamental club model is going to be the one club. It needs a bit of work. The structure needs to be tidied up a bit, and a bit more of a shape needs to be put on it. But the fundamental structure is going to be the one club. What we need to see is more and more clubs switching to one clubs.
Yeah.
So when you have a hurling club and a camogie club in a parish, they should already be talking. You don't have to wait till 2027 for that. They should do that now, all over the summer, all over the country. Camogie clubs and GAA clubs and LGFA clubs should be having a conversation and saying, you know what, we need to become a one club. Ballinderry became a one club there a couple of years ago. Salthill Knocknacarra is a one club. There's a number of clubs, even in the areas that we know well in Galway, that are doing it. But you go up to Ulster, a huge number of 4-code 1 clubs. And if you go into urban areas, 4-code 1 clubs are much more the norm. And we have to make those steps. And they're difficult steps because, you know, there's history in all of these different clubs, and there's
protective of it.
Issues and like, you know, things don't always and haven't always historically run smoothly between the clubs, and we have to get beyond that and go, do you know what, if we're going to be integrated, then we have to start on the ground and integrate too.
Exactly.
That means clubs coming together and say, do you know what, let's just move ahead with our one club piece, because that's where we're going to end up anyway. So may as well start taking those steps now and moving it along. And that's when you get your top down, bottom up piece. So we're doing what we're doing at an association level and working on the structures that need to be put in place. But then you have a bottom up where clubs are going, well, we're going to integrate now. Yeah. And the more integration there is at ground level, and I've said this, and it doesn't always go down hugely well in locations like South Galway and like other locations, but I'm a huge advocate of the need for, if we want to expand our game, it's not going to be by converting people who are playing soccer or people who are playing rugby to come over and play camogie. It is about ladies football players playing camogie and camogie players playing ladies football. And that means going into, if you look at Mayo have 4 camogie clubs and something like 26 ladies football clubs. Those ladies football clubs need to be worked with and encouraged, and no pressure, but worked with and encouraged to set up camogie teams off them. And those camogie teams need to be setting up ladies football teams. And in South Galway, same thing. You know, and like the schools piece, I had a conversation with the minister recently, and again, one of my bugbears, which I picked up in the speech, is the UNESCO have recognised the unique cultural contribution that comes from camogie to Ireland, to Ireland's culture. UNESCO have recognised that.
That's fantastic.
We go into every school, every school is taught about Irish culture, and they're taught about Irish language, and they're taught about Irish history, but they're not taught about Irish sport. They're not taught about camogie. And I think it is really nonsensical when you get down to it, that the ability for every girl in the country to be given the opportunity in school to learn about camogie and to learn how to play camogie is a lottery based on whether or not the principal or the school teachers have a camogie or hurling background. If they don't, the girls don't get that opportunity. And like, it's gone beyond just we'd like to. UNESCO has recognised the cultural importance of hurling and camogie. And by the way, I would have absolutely no problem and would advocate that football and ladies football, Gaelic football and ladies football, be given the same treatment in the schools, but that all the schools be given the resources that are required and the support and the connections with the clubs and the coaching help and all that, because there's a load of people have to get involved for this to happen. But that you end up in a situation where every girl in every parish, in every county, gets the opportunity in school to play camogie, to learn about camogie, to learn the history of camogie, and to learn how to play the game. That's a game changer, but it shouldn't be difficult. It is a fundamental part of our culture, and international bodies like UNESCO are recognising it. Well, we have to recognise it ourselves.
Yeah.
I suppose the problem is, like you said, it's down to the schools as well. And I seen here in the local schools and like Gort, Kinvara, Ballinderreen, that they are really introducing football and stuff. And I suppose it's more so the hurling clubs aren't as welcoming to football as the football clubs are welcoming of hurling, if that makes any sense. But it is, they're definitely getting, I suppose, a taste of both football, especially here in South Galway. We're not a major football hold, you know what I mean? So it is great. And look, it can only benefit them. It's keeping them in sports, it's keeping them active. And that's what it's all about. But if
completely. And like, it's very doable. I'm a lot older than either of the pair of ye.
Oh,
but I grew up,
massive. Yeah.
Massively, yeah, huge difference. But I grew
You're
up
the president now, so
you have to be you're the president.
Brian, actually, your name came up in a quiz the last night, so you have made it. You know you've made it when
you come up in a table quiz, exactly. But I grew up in Lanesborough in Longford, right on the edge of the Shannon, just on the border, where across the river you have a different parish, you have a different townland, you have a different county, you have a different province, you have a different diocese, all on the span of a step across the bridge.
Yeah.
But Longford, not known as a hurling county, there was 20-something hurling clubs in Longford in the 1980s when I was a young fella, because the GAA put a focus on developing hurling in non-traditional areas at the time. And there was individuals being supported and clubs being supported to get coaching in there, to get young lads. And there wasn't much camogie going on, to be honest. There wasn't at the time when I was a young fella. But there was 20-something hurling clubs around Longford at the time. And then the support wasn't maintained and it withered on the vine. But I was delighted to see and I was talking to some of the lads in Lanesborough there recently, and they had at a recent Lorimar match that Longford are playing in, at half-time, that a crowd of boys and girls from the Rathline club out hurling in the half-time break on it, because they've got it back going again, Rathline again.
Fantastic.
But it shows the measures can be taken to encourage and to get boys and girls playing hurling and camogie in non-traditional areas, but people have to put the effort. At the end of the day, you have to have people on the ground doing it. You have to help them. You have to give them the resources. You have to give them the support. You have to facilitate it. And I'm a huge believer in the fact that in school, there is an absolute requirement for all the kids to be given the opportunity to do physical exercise.
Yeah.
And if we linked in camogie and hurling and ladies football and Gaelic football into that and made it part of the actual curriculum, made it part of the sports offering that is required in every school, and then supported it and gave the coaching into it and gave all the supports that are necessary to it, the game-changing element of that for both ladies football and for camogie, and indeed for football and hurling in non-traditional areas, will be huge. Because if you have every national school teaching boys and girls, how to play camogie and how to play football, that has a huge impact in terms of their own fitness and their involvement in their clubs and their involvement in their communities and their involvement in everything, particularly when there's such a large number now of newer Irish people who've moved in over the last number of years.
Yeah, non-traditional families.
Non-traditional, yeah.
Exactly, who don't necessarily have the background in it, but they want their kids to have a connection to Irish culture. They want their kids to actually be
exposed to it, yeah.
That's how you do it, and I think it's something that hopefully will happen over the coming years.
It probably is down at the end of the day. It's down to money and resources, because as you said, the teachers, they're not all into hurling, camogie and football and or ladies Gaelic football. So like, I know we have Mick Fleming, he's the CDO that goes around to the national schools, and he goes to Kiltiernan and to Lavan and to Kinvara, and he's absolutely brilliant. But I think that's the only way you're going to get it, is to keep pumping the money at the national school levels. because, you know, there's no point in pumping it into your senior teams. It's like there's a load of people missed and gone through the net at that stage.
It's grassroots level where it needs to go. Nurseries in your clubs and national schools, and you'll expose these kids to the basics and the skills, and they'll develop a serious love for it and will want to continue it. And as a result, parents will want to be more involved, you know, so maybe that's an area.
It is down to resources.
Yeah,
and I always remember Jerry Spellman come out.
There's a big focus though on, but there's a big focus now. If you hear, there's recent talk about stuff like tax relief for gym membership and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, I heard that.
But if you listen to the arguments that are being made, they're the exact same arguments, that we are pumping money into curing people of various illnesses, a lot of which are related to lifestyle, as distinct from pumping money into prevention. People more active in primary school the whole way up. So if you marry those two bits together, and absolutely tax relief for gym membership, that's fine. But there is a need to recognise the preventative benefits that come from getting more kids playing our national sports in national school and making sure they're all doing it. And it does take money, absolutely, and it takes time and it takes resources and it takes cooperation between the clubs and the schools. The clubs will have some of the resources that the schools don't have and will be able to help and work with them. And we need to put facilities in place that enable the clubs to work with the schools. And that then hops across into one of the other F's in terms of facilities, because if you're looking at the expansion of facilities around the place, we've played some great games, and I've gone and watched some great games in the SETU, for example, the facilities that they have over there in Carlow. Fantastic facilities in the various universities and in some of the secondary schools as well. Pump money into the secondary schools facilities, but do it in partnership with the clubs and with the clubs in the local areas, so that there's a facility whereby
it's a win-win.
Brilliant facility, and the club then can use it in the evening time or on the weekends or during the holidays or whatever, and everybody benefits from it.
Absolutely, it's something actually we were thinking about once, because we're heavily involved in the schools.
Are we going building a?
Oh, we're not building.
We're building a pitch now. Lovely.
But we were saying, schools don't use their pitches after the summer, 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening or during the summer. And
in fairness to Brian Cross and Conor Dolan, they were stuck for pitches.
They don't, but
it has started kind of a partnership that Conor Dolan couldn't get pitches last week. And he rang me to see would Brian Crossan give the pitches after school. And in fairness, and he's working with the club as well with Kinvara. So, like, maybe you're right, we should be using the schools that bit more. But obviously, they have to be protected.
Benefit financially and be able to use facilities.
Insurance
and for the upkeep of facilities.
Yeah, the insurance thing has been worked on. I can say that to you. So we're looking at all these things at the moment, and a number of these coming together are game changery pieces. And part of the integration thing is, and I kind of coined this phrase of operating an integrated mindset now. So you think about what you're doing, you tackle your problems in the context of, well, would we do it differently if we were integrated? How would we work this if we were integrated? And would we agree these fixtures without actually talking to the other codes if we were integrated? Of course we wouldn't. Would we charge the Camogie for access to that pitch if we were integrated? Of course we wouldn't. And it's about making those decisions now with that integrated mindset. And part of that is around saying, well, if we want to expand our game, we can't be thinking about it how we expand Camogie or how we expand hurling or how we expand football or ladies football. We want to expand all the games. What's the best way of expanding all the games? What's the best way of coming up with some sort of solutions to this facilities problem? And it is about working together and working with the broader community piece. I know Tom Ryan raised the point about we need to have a more municipal focus when it comes to the development of new facilities, and some people in the GAA weren't happy with that kind of line. Like, why would we be given? And it's that kind of mindset. We're going to be given access to our pitches, as distinct from saying no. We're all going to work together and get everyone to have more access to more pitches, which is what ultimately we want collectively. And that's where you look at that kind of thorny problem of there not being, in some schools, not being great facilities available to them. So obviously some schools have super facilities, but a lot of schools could do with further investment in it. So rather than the hurling club or the football club or the rugby club or the soccer club spend the money in that field and then that field and then that field and then that field on their specific pitch, and the school down the road still kind of asking, can I go up and use your pitch, or can we send the kids up there at this time, whatever. Expand the facilities, put in proper high level facilities in there, but do it with an agreement in place whereby the clubs can access it in the evening time or on the weekends or over the summertime or whatever. And if you do it so you're not then relying on the principal like Brian Cosson or whoever having to be just a proactive kind of a guy who engages. That it's part of the structure that we operate, and that's where when the funding goes in and it's done on the basis of actually this is all part of the deal here, everybody benefits, and ultimately that's what we want. It's not about, and my mindset has never been about, camogie and to the detriment of anyone else. I want to expand camogie. Camogie is the oldest sport in Ireland. I made the quip that when Satanta became Cuchulainn because he took the dog out with the hurl and the schlitter that time, way back in time. We all know that Satanta was taught how to hurl by his mother. So actually,
of course.
Obviously,
yeah. So camogie goes back to the mist of times. We might be 120 years old as a national governing body, but our sport goes back well beyond that. Yeah. And it's hugely important from that cultural protection perspective that we develop camogie. But I don't want to develop camogie to the detriment of any other sport. I want all the sports to come up together.
And listen, look, we could talk all night with you, Brian.
Talk all night, 10 o'clock at night, girls. Genie,
exactly. Man. We should be in bed. We've school in the morning.
What are you on about? We only come alive around 12.
This time. Yeah. Final question for you, Aoife has it, and it's a question maybe that we both were thinking about.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you've answered so much there, and it's your passion is shown definitely, and those ideas and things that are in the pipeline for future. It's very exciting for camogie, and it will take time, but I like the way you say it won't be at the detriment of anything else.
Yeah.
And that it is. It's so like historical and cultural, and it's brilliant for everyone. But grassroots levels, as Martina said as well, is where we need to pump it in. But I suppose in 3 years' time, when you finish up your term, myself and Martina were talking like, what's the final question we'd like to ask you?
Apart from the obvious that you'll nominate us and we'll be up there with you, Brian.
God, yes, Mr. President.
I'll be there. Don't worry.
Or free tickets or anything, me and Aoife are your number 2.
We'll wash your car. Have you president written on the side of the car now and stuff like that?
Yeah, perfect. Of course I do, yeah.
We'll be your group. But Brian Molloy, 2027, leaving your position, what's your legacy?
Integration is obviously the key piece, so that the integration has been done successfully in camogie's history and tradition is maintained, protected, and indeed enhanced within the new GAA. That's a key one for me. The expansion of the game is the other piece. We put, we changed one of the kind of quietly. There was lots of focus on various things after Congress, but some really, really important things were changed with regard to player welfare, and we added in a whole new concept of social camogie members, because we're trying to get girls and women who maybe aren't playing at county level or aren't playing at senior club level, but would love an opportunity to play a game. And that social camogie is really starting to kick off. It's really actually going really well.
Always coming up well,
yeah. The expansion of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Crowell had added there recently down in Connacht as well. So the expansion of the game is key. If we were able to expand the extent to which it'll be a massive achievement if we got to a point whereby every girl in every national school was at least being given the opportunity. Whether that can be achieved in 3 years, I'd love to see progress being made on that, so at least we could see that is going to be achieved. Game expansion is hugely important from my perspective, and the integration. So they're probably the 2 biggest pieces from my perspective.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Brilliant. Yeah, exactly. But look, we want to wish you well. I know that you're a busy man, and we appreciate all that you have done so far, and we look forward to you doing more. And I think it's wonderful what you've been. Very brave. You're like the cat amongst the pigeons up there, I'm sure. But I'm sure all the women are well looking after you, Brian. And we wish you the very best of luck from myself and Aoife. No doubt we'll be calling on you again for a favour, and likewise. And we thank you for taking the time to chat with us tonight, Brian.
Yeah, thanks a million.
Lovely to talk to you. Not at all. Lovely to talk to you. Thanks a million.
And hello to Liv and the girls from us all as well. All right. Take care.
Thanks a million, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Talk soon. Bye.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's great to he gave us some amount of information
and a lovely insight into, I suppose, what he wants to try.
The main thing I thought, like when he said he's like what he wants his legacy to be. He was like to make sure that the game is enhanced, and
absolutely, and
it's continue to grow,
not to the detriment
of anything else, which was lovely. So it's not just a one-way approach, and the integration.
Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic.
Brilliant. Yeah. We'll definitely get him on again towards the end of the championship.
And I like the thing about the 3 Fs, and I think that's so important. And if you actually think about it, Aoife, with every club, like, what do we argue over? We argue over
finances. Yeah.
We argue over the fixtures and we argue over
the pitches. Yeah.
So if we could even work on one of them, I think it's a step forward in the right direction.
Isn't it something to bring back to the clubs even? Do you know, the 3 Fs? I like that. I like that.
I remember the 3 Fs in a history book, and it was something to do with the land league. Sure, it's all part of history as well, isn't it?
As long as we keep it those
but look,
3 Fs.
We could be talking all night. An interesting thing, just while Brian was on it there a minute ago, which in relation to SETU, was the survey that they were doing, Aoife, in the last, I suppose, couple of weeks ago, about parental involvement and the emotional influence that we as parents or our parents or guardians may have on our young kids today when it comes to games. We'll say, for example, your key for my Fiona, if we're going out playing a game, what's the conversation we have with them going in the car? Is it go out and enjoy yourself? Or is it, are you telling her A to B to C to D and how she's going to play the game?
Or are you telling them to tear into it? Or are you telling them to enjoy it?
Exactly.
You're putting pressure on.
Putting pressure. Or are you, I know myself and you coach our kids, and we're probably very hard on them, but as I
think it's nearly to prove that you're not being biased.
Absolutely.
I find sometimes myself, I'm like,
kind of pick on our own.
Keep your mouth your mouth shut. And
I just thought it was an interesting survey, and any parents or guardians out there with young kids, it's on the camogie.ie web, and just even have your say heard. It's literally a 2-minute survey all about the emotional intelligence and influence that parents have on kids' games today. But look, time is of the essence.
Should we have, I suppose, the schools are finishing up.
Schools are finishing up. We had the first year in the minor leagues just finishing up that last week, and
nice to have a few different
names.
With the first year A. Rayfields. Well, that's not a new game, a new name, but you're doing brilliant.
You go again,
No.
Here we go again.
No, I haven't said it. No,
you won't be saying much next year now.
Well, stop. You're flying it. Minor A was Pres and Minor B was Coon, so it was lovely to.
It's great to see them. And these are schools that are on the fringes of playing C's and B's, Camogie, and look at with the development that's been done. It's obvious that they're good enough to be playing within in the grade or above the grade that they are.
And long may it continue. I just want to point out to the teachers: will you stick to the fixtures? For the love of God, come September.
Absolutely fried.
I'm burnt from it.
I'm burnt with the fixtures, but look at it's a whole new year ahead, and I'm sure, please God, we'll get new faces on board. But look at that's it. It's a wrap. We're looking forward to this week. Aoife, it's our last week in school, and everyone is like, "Oh, boo hoo hoo." We don't feel one bit sorry for you. Well, sure, as I always say, that's the profession you should have chosen.
Yes, everybody had a choice.
But look at a shout out to all Leave Insert students, both in all schools, in all counties, but in particular in Galway and Connacht, and junior cycle students who are, I suppose, busy and getting down, I suppose, to the latter ends of the study and the revision. And we wish you the best of luck. And look, at people say take a break from your sport. I say if you can find a happy medium and get out there and get your walk, or exactly, or get to a session maybe at the weekend. Mind the hands. Don't go into school with a broken hand.
That's all you need.
But look, it's awful important to keep the mind fresh, and
it won't define you. I mean, the Leave Insert and the Junior Cert won't define you. There's a million paths.
Don't let it define you. That's the most important thing. But look, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And we will
see you next
week. We'll chat again next week. And big thank you again to Brian.
It's brilliant to have him. Great to have him.
All right. God bless you all.